Hi, this is Jingwen. This is my mastery project number 4. And this module is called Accessibility Makeover. And in this presentation, I'm going to show how I took a traditional print-based course book produced by Oxford English and its PPT and turned into a more friendly and digital accessible version. For each of the slides, I will first point out the issues in the original design, and then I'll show how I change and how those changes improve digital accessibility for different learners, including visually impaired students, low vision users, and learners with attention or reading difficulties. This slide shows the original unit introduction from the course book. You can see that there is a lot of information packed into the slide on the left. The skill, vocabulary, grammar, text types. The larger picture on the left takes up a lot of space, and there is no text description. And there are many colors and shapes in it, and it can be overwhelming for students with low vision or reading difficulties. In my design on the right, I break this kind of information clutter into a clearer, a more linear structure with headings and bullet points. So this makes it easier for the screen reader to follow, and the order is easier for the students using small screen to navigate the content. And I kept the original QR code, but for students with visual impairment, I think it would be more convenient to add a link in here instead of using QR code, and they can use the keyboard to navigate this. So here you can see the original warm-up activity on the left and my digital version on the right. In the original one, you can see all the images, words, and questions are squeezed onto one page, creating a pretty heavy visual load. And the images are purely visual, no alt text, so the screen reader cannot convey that information. On mobile device, it's hard to see the detail or tap the specific elements. So in my version, I split the activities into separate linear items, pair each pictures with short text description, and I add concise alt text to each of this image. And the students can use a screen reader to understand the visual. I use a single column layout with more white space so the activity adapts better to different screen sizes. And I think it can reduce the cognitive load too. So the tasks stay the same, but it becomes more accessible to students with different visual and motor abilities. And this slide focuses on the pre-reading task. In the original version, the page is a little bit crowded with a series of questions on top, color boxes, icon. It's not very clear how the questions and text are logically grouped. The reading order is confusing for the screen readers. The software may not follow the very clear question to option sequence. So in my version, and I reorganized the information into a clear table structure with labels such as text type, writer, name of event, and so on. And each prompt and answer space is placed in a predictable logical order, so the keyboard navigation can move through it step by step. And I also removed the decorative graphic at the bottom so that the key information can stand out. And I removed, okay, so these changes improve the reading order, keyboard operability, and overall overall it becomes more perceivable. Okay. So now I move to the main reading test, how big data improves something. So the original layout is the text sits on the top of the background images with italics, colors, and maybe some highlights. And there are large decorative pictures that are not directly useful for understanding the text. And the contrast between the text and the background is not very strong. And it's not strong enough for many low vision users. And the long paragraphs are packed together with very little spacing. And in my design, I switched to a high contrast black text against a light white background and removed the busy background images. And I break long paragraphs into shorter chunks and add some clear subheadings like paragraph 1, paragraph 2, etc. So I reduce and reposition the image so they sit near the relevant paragraph. And I give alt text for both of these images and the large images here. Okay, and so rather than filling the entire space, I add alt text for both pictures, and I keep a single column top to bottom reading order. It works better for screen reader and smaller screens. So the content is the same, but the text becomes much more readable for students with visual and cognitive difficulties. So here is slide 7. Slide 7 shows the original comprehension question in print format. And these questions and options are very tightly packed with minimal space. And multiple questions appear on the same page, and it could be visually overwhelming. The choices are indicated by little circle for handwritten answers, but not for students who can use their digital device to do it. So those circle cannot translate well into the digital environment. For screen reader, the circle don't have any meaning, so the audio output becomes very confusing strings of text. So in the next slide, here, I revert those questions into interactive, well-structured digital task. And this page introduced the comprehension 1. The original PPT is done by Oxford English Forward, but there's a list of questions. There's just a list of questions with very little guidance on how to navigate, and you have to use the mouse to click. And you might have already noticed that some of the questions are like on the same line, so it could be very confusing. And there are no instructions for keyboard users or for the screen readers. In my revised version, I keep the unit title on the left, but on the right, and I create a question list, question number 1 to question number 13, that works like a menu. And I add clear instructions. For example, you can see that I add a line there. You can use a mouse click or use the tab key to move between the questions. And I turn each question label into a clickable link so that a student can jump straight to any of them. And I think this would improve the operability, especially for students who rely on keyboard navigation or assistive technology. And these slides show how I break the questions onto its own page and provide structured feedback. Originally, you can see 2 or 3 questions appear on each slide. The font is like pretty small, and there's no immediate feedbacks on answer unless you click on it. So the green arrow here show the answer after the student answer it, and the students have to flip back and forth between the text and multiple questions. And in my redesign here, I wanted each slide focus on just one question, such as question 7 or question 9. The layout is consistent. The question number, the question text, the answer options, and 2 buttons for students to go back to the question list from number 1 to number 13, and the other one is check the answer. So when a student click check answer, they are taken back to the dedicated answer slide, and the correct answer is shown in the high contrast text, and I put the answer first because if I imagine if I were the student using screen reader, I would like to know the answer first to check whether I'm wrong or I'm correct. And when a student clicked the check answer, they were taken back to the answer slide, and the correct answer is shown in the text immediately. And I use bullet points to explain why the answer is correct instead of in the original one, you can see that all the explanations were placed together. So I use bullet points to explain it. I think it's clearer and neater. The key phrases from the reading test can be highlighted and can be referenced. So in this approach, I think it can reduce the cognitive load by allowing students to concentrate one task at a time. And it will make it clearer if they want to return to the question list menu, and it helps the keyboard or the screen reader user. And it supports students who struggle with reading and comprehension by giving step-by-step reasoning and not just the right or wrong feedback or just the chunk of answers altogether. And the other thing I want to improve is for the students who use screen reader, the original answer, like what you can see here, they use line 4 to line 7. And it's really difficult if you're using a screen reader at the same time. You need to go back to the original text to look for line 4 to line 7. And if you check the original text in here, and all the line numbers were placed there using images, it's not very easy to understand like which one is line 1, which one is line 7. It's almost impossible. So I kind of removed that in my design. And I provided the link right here. Pay attention to the red arrow here. And I provide a link to paragraph 1. So once we click on it, the paragraph 1 appear, and then the students can read or listen to paragraph 1's content, and they can find it there. So it's more convenient for my students. Okay, so this slides show in the original material, you know that there are like many pictures of the products, the decorative design, the earrings, the stall, the poster, and all. And none of this image has alt tests, so the students cannot see the screen, receive no information about them. And in my version, I add short descriptive text alt tests for key images. For example, like I wrote a pair of brightly colored ceramic earring hanging on a wooden display board. And I avoid using vague description like picture 1 or decoration. So when appropriate, I can offer alt tests in both English and Chinese and or some of the students' first language. By doing this, I make the visual information accessible through language and allow screen readers to present those details to blind or maybe low vision learners. Okay. And so far, I have focused on image or explanations or navigation. And now let's turn to the question layout and answer key. And many of them have like a serious accessibility barrier. And you can see this slide shows comprehension 2 for text 2. All the questions are printed together on one page. And the question stems are long and options are pretty close together. Again, they use the circle. So I keep the same logic as I use in comprehension 1, a question list navigation page with clear instructions for mouse and keyboard, and one question per page with consistent layout and navigation. And I put a separate answer slide for each of these questions with neater and revised explanation. For true, false, or not given task types, I don't just type true or false. I also use quotes and paraphrase the key sentence from the text I use bullet points to explain the reasoning, and the structure feedback helped slow readers and students who need to hear or see it around the logic behind each of these answers multiple times. So following the successful model for comprehension 1 and comprehension 2, I create and redesign the PowerPoint for the second article, and this is the life skill part. And as I move to skill practice and grammar work, I shift them from print to Google Forms. In the original exercise, you can see the text, illustration, and table are all mixed on one page. The students are expected to write their answer by hand in a book. So this format, for me, I think is not very practical for remote learning or blended learning. So in my digital version, I reviewed all the activities in Google Forms, and each questions appear in a single column layout with consistent fonts and good contrast. The students can use the keyboard to navigate, arrow key for the radio buttons, the tab to move between different questions, and I can enable basic automaking and feedback whenever appropriate. So I keep the original learning goals in the context, but I kind of changed the delivery mode to be more digital and accessible. So this is a more friendly version for my students who rely on mobile device, and they might have difficulty with handwriting, or they can enlarge the test anytime they need. Okay. So this is one of the slide. Okay. So this is one of the slide that combines with listening task. The audio links are combined with pictures and minimal instruction. You can see it on the left in here. And there's a headset image right there, but when you click on it, nothing appears. So in that way, it would not be very convenient. Only the teacher can play the audio, and the charts and table are actually packed on the same page. It's very hard for the screen reader to interpret the data from the pie chart or the bar chart in a logical order. So in my design, I use Google Form, but I transfer those images into text to provide a clearer information within the chart. So the structure is like the task title, the context, and the number list of question. The audio is presented as the link with short explanations such as part A listening or part B listening. Click here to listen to radio, or listen to the audio. And I also provide a transcript for the listening file. So the screen reader user can assess the data in charts and tables through the test. And the students without printers or with handwriting difficulties, they can still complete and submit their work digitally. Okay, so this is task number 2. For this task, it's actually an integrated task. And after listening to it, they need to combine the information in the chart, and then you need to read something and work on a question. You can see task 2 on the left here. It's really difficult for the students with using the screen reader, because you need to constantly go back to the previous material to find the answer there. So I kind of break it into shorter questions with answer or multiple choices question. It would be easier for them to look for answers in the excerpt. And I also provide corresponding paragraphs for some of these blanks and make it into like short answer questions, it would be easier for them to look at the test, to read the test, and then answer it very shortly. So this one is the assessment for the whole unit. I also make it into the Google form. And moving the entire paper assessment to Google form, I think it's a decision for universal accessibility. By converting everything into a live structured test, I can ensure that full screen reader capability, compatibility, and keyboard operability. So while the layout automatically reflowed on any device. So beyond accessibility, this change could also introduce substantial efficiency. The form single focus design reduce the student's cognitive load because each page or item presents one clear task at a time. So for the instructor, it enables the immediate automatic marking, and you can analyze the student's data later as a teacher, and it has a stronger data integrity through required fields. So it turned a static document that requires handwriting to answer into a dynamic, universally usable tool that supports both teaching and students' assessment. Okay, so this unit has got an introductory video that talks about shopping in Hong Kong. So for this part, I focus on video accessibility, especially the caption and contextual framing. The original video presented two major barriers. And the first one, I think, is all the captions are very hard coded into the video. And the background are like different moving pictures. So it's really hard to read. And because it's like has got a lot of elements in the background. So they are often instinct against like busy backgrounds, the subtitle, I mean. So secondly, the video began with silent footage and the title appear only as the embedded text. So the students do not know what's the major theme of this video. The screen reader cannot access it too. So my solution is to create a separate, clearer caption file with fonts that remain legible regardless of the background. So I kind of added a dedicated introduction at the start of the video. You might check that in my submission. And at the start of the video, I clearly stated the topic and the learning goals for this video for the visually impaired students. And I think this could provide an immediate context via audio for students with hearing and language challenge. It offers a framework for organizing what they are about to learn and what they are about to watch. So by front loading this information, I think I can reduce the cognitive pressure of trying to interpret the content without prior context. And I also provide a transcript for the video. Okay. Like in developing the caption, I pay attention to the quality beyond transcription. So I deliberately avoid fragmented phrasing. Instead, I use complete sentences instead of breaking them into different like small chunks. So it would be easier for students to use a screen reader to understand what's going on there instead of like breaking them into like broken chunks. So when they're using it, I think the sentence will sound more natural when they're using on the screen readers. And it kind of support accurate mapping of grammar and syntax. I also integrated descriptive caption to cover visual informations. So in the original video, in between different section, there's a transition part. And for example, like this one, it shows a runway with a word fashion. So I added a tag such as visual, a fashion runway with model walking in the screen. You will see a word fashion. I added into the transcript. So this brief this brief description ensures the learner who cannot fully see the screen will still understand what is happening visually. And I think one of the major auditory accessibility for the original video is the background music. The music is very loud and sometimes it's not very clear, and it sounds competitive with the voice. So I kind of feel like it's overpowering the narration. So it would make very difficult for the students with minor hearing loss, those with or those with a smartphone speaker or noise sensitive learner to listen to it. So my solution is to separate human voice and the background track. And I use a software called 剪影. And it's an app that allows me to edit my video to separate the voice track with the background music track. And I found another background music song to replace the original one. So it's a calmer background music. It helps the student to concentrate on the voice. And I think it would help the students with sound sensitivities or the attention challenge to focus on the language content, especially they need to simultaneously reading captions or taking notes. Well, finally, one of the major technical drawback of the original video was lack of playback speed control. You can only adjust the resolution of the image, but you cannot adjust the speed of it. So after I revised the whole video, I uploaded to the YouTube platform, and I also uploaded the transcript text on it. So my students can actually watch the video with Chinese or English subtitle. And the YouTube platform allows you to make speed adjustment. So the students can now slow the speech for detailed language processing, or they can speed it up for quick review. And this simple technical change transformed the video from a fixed one-speed resource into a flexible tool that a student can adapt to their own pace, preference, or according to their listening or according to their abilities. Okay, so thanks for watching. That is the end of my introductions of my mastery project number 4. Thank you very much.